welcome to Conversations with Anasa. So happy to see you this morning. So let's start with meditation. Take your attention inside, down below your belly button, and breathe into that space. Imagine that there's a funnel in the center of your head, and all of your thoughts, all of your energy, all of your attention is coming down to your belly button, just below the belly button. So that's where all of your attention is. Nothing between your ears. Home base, safe place, below your belly button. My friend and shaman, Mika Karu, uses that phrase. She's a Qigong teacher and an acupuncturist and a shaman. Home base, safe place. This gives us a different perspective. Quite literally. This particular energy center is the source of courage. And in many of us who were abused as children, especially feminine children, we closed off to our courage because of holding our breath. So this is an opportunity to open our breath and let it fall deeper, deeper, deeper into this energy center that embodies our courage. So that we can embody that courage. And empower ourselves. We are the ones we have been waiting for, to empower ourselves into harmony. There's nothing outside of us that can do that. So allow your breath to come down just below your belly button, and your attention will follow your breath. And as we release ourselves from the command to hold in your stomach, and allow ourselves to embody our power, something magical happens. Our strength appears. And from this place, we can bring in the white light and then allow any residue of self-hatred to be released. You can gently hold your arms out to your sides a few inches from your body. Feel the white light coming from above, showering us with our birthright of love, clarity, peace, washing away any residue. Of self-hatred. Any other thing that we wish to let go of can go too. This is such a big one for so many of us. Just allow it to leave. It's messages from others with unhealed childhood wounds. We can let it go for us. And breathe into the source of strength just below our belly button, our power center. The center of courage, willpower, determination. And we embrace that for ourselves. As we allow this courage to penetrate us deeply, we can drop our attention to the tailbone, the tip of the tailbone, an upside down triangle. And feel for its freedom to move gently backward on the inhale. And forward on the exhale. And whatever the length of our breath, it doesn't matter. Allow it to fall as deeply as you can in your body. Allow yourself to breathe all the way to that tip of the tailbone. This is our connection to Mother Earth. The womb is intimately connected to Mother Earth. It is our generative power. The source of our creativity. in an energetic sense. This kind of breathing is called Kujai. We're going to say Kujai, but that's not it. Anyway, it's a breath where you breathe very deeply and slightly audibly through your nose. And then sometimes the breath will just stop inside your body, all the way down at the tip of your tailbone. And you can just watch what it does next. It's called Ujjayi breathing, sorry. We want to hold class today with our attention deep in these lower chakras, because this is often our work in our daily life, is to hold our attention down here so that we can serve in the world with a clear head. So there's no problem in having class with our attention focused there. So holding your attention in your lower abdomen, all below your belly button, gently begin to open your eyes without moving your attention. This is our warrior pose energetically. This is where we put our attention when we want to be present in the world. This is how we occupy our power from this location. We're extremely happy to answer any questions that may have arisen in this moment. We're completely available to you. Anything?
Do you think that the things that are the planetary alignments and everything that are happening over the next couple months are really impacting us?
Well, the easy answer to that is that the things that are happening in the sky always impact us, but they impact us each in different ways. The things that are happening, you know, there's several eclipses coming and some big changes happening in the next month or so that do have worldwide implications. And but the short answer is yes, what happens in the sky impacts us. The long answer is that how it impacts us is very different because we are unique individuals. So, you know, some generalizations work for the big movements. But how they impact us is slightly different for each one of us. I'll give an example. Jupiter, the planet of expansion and goodness, is moving from a place where it's very happy in Pisces to Aries, and Jupiter stays in a sign for a year, and it blesses that sign with all kinds of goodness. And so when it moves to Aries, it's going to go from a water sign to a fire sign. And so that shift from water to fire is always a little bit steamy. And so we can feel that wherever place it is for us. And that changes according to when we were born. We feel that steam in different ways. There's a lot of heat there in that change. And so it can make us, you know, one of our best friends in the sky is steaming. And so we'll feel that in the way we feel it. And for some people, you know, depending on their sensitivity, they start to feel it early and may feel it late as well as that transition happens. And for other people, they won't notice it depending on how, you know, how in tune they are with themselves and the universe, our solar system. Even smaller than that. Our sensitivity really only takes account, you know, has only really tried to articulate out as far as Pluto. But, you know, our universe actually moves around a galactic center. So it's a big sky. Thank you for the question. How may we serve further this morning? Yes.
I've been going through a lot of emotional changes and upheaval these days, and it seems to be on one level that all these changes have really completely independent from contact. It's, you know, it may be easy to see contact in some moods, but that's not really the point. And if this making sense to you.
So by contact, okay, let me see if we understand. You've been going through some emotional disequilibrium, we'll call it, and it seems to be disconnected from contact.
Oh, opposite.
Opposite.
Even if it was contact, it's independent of that.
Contact is independent of the emotional fluctuations that are happening. We will say, of course, that is absolutely the truth, that once one has established contact as the fundamental value in one's life, contact with divine source as the fundamental value in one's life, then as we become more and more aligned with that contact, the states, the fluctuation of the emotions becomes, in a way, more superficial. For example, if you're sitting at the bottom of the ocean in love, peace, joy, and gratitude, sort of as a fundamental state, but not even with that defined, that's not, the state is contact, which is beyond any emotion. And so that contact just has a fullness and a wholeness to it. And when that becomes our foundation, then it's like sitting at the bottom of the ocean in the foundation of wholeness and watching the fluctuation of the emotional reactivity, which we understand to be a matrix of belief of patterned awareness based on our reactivity to those events which happened to us before we started to have any self-awareness. Events that were imposed on us by those with a worldview that was all there is. Does that make any sense? And does that accurately describe what you're asking about?
So the thing is that, and I guess then I have I mean, gratitude is a position, an attitude, but joy implies an emotion.
Right.
May not be there.
Right.
You know, what we're talking about is present.
Actually, the emotion is not there. What is fundamental to this inner awareness is that as we become established in it, it becomes obvious to us that that is the truth. And that truth has a sort of presence to it that is so compelling that becomes our center of our center of awareness, really, that we understand to be real, and what fluctuates, what moves on the surface becomes less and less our reality. Does that make sense? And so it is that fundamental union that we begin to recognize as the truth of our being, the foundation of our awareness, that as we become more and more attuned to that alignment, then we are still very much impacted by these movements on the surface of our emotions, but they no longer are the source of our action. Because we learn to, it's not really learn, it's that we have devoted ourselves to experiencing this union of awareness with Source that gives us the space in the hot moments to pull back and feel for that alignment before we react. Does that make sense?
And I think that maybe this is semantics, because if you pull back and you align, there's a sense of clarity and equanimity and awareness of inherent freedom, which we could make equivalent to joy, the emotion of joy. But and you may have in that moment feel peace and joy, but I have this issue with, get back to joy when there may not be anything in your life which is pointing in that direction. Exactly.
Yes, we think our early invocation of joy was actually, that's not the whole truth. There's something deeper than that. And the deepest thing is that alignment itself. And then there are times when one is alone in that alignment, attunement, when joy can arise as part of that. But to, characterize the whole thing as love, peace, joy, and gratitude is really a huge limitation, because that's not what it is. Those things become available as a result of it, but what it is, and that even may not be so true. Let's sit for a second and get quiet. The truth of it is union. And that union is so strongly felt that there's no two, there's no duality to it. It is one, and everything comes from that one. And that is the essence of non-duality within ourselves. And it is beyond any emotional experience. It is also beyond language. But there's something in us that recognizes the truth of it. And in that experience, there is, in a way, something to stand on. We know it when we're in it. And it's the source of everything. And that understanding frees us. It's beyond emotion. All emotion. And the confidence is in knowing ourselves as that. And then there can come from that a sense of welcoming whatever happens as information that we have magnetized to ourselves to grow deeper. That's very linear. And there is a truth to it, but there is so much complexity in well, if we think of ourselves as a being that is both a receiver, like with antennas, and a broadcaster, if we think of ourselves as that, and as every thought wave experience as either a broadcast or a received experience, then the complexity of the number of those that even happen in a minute, some that we know about, some we don't, it becomes so phenomenally complex that our attempt to make it a linear reality it doesn't make any sense in the context of the complexity of what's actually happening. And the bottom line to that is that the real work is cultivating union. And from that union comes the peace of understanding. PEACE. And that is maybe a better way of saying what we've been kind of walking around since we opened our mouth this morning. Does that make sense?
And it seems to me, the reason I'm bringing this up, because if one has a strong experience of contact, out of that may arise the feeling of joy, which is wonderful. There's nothing wrong with that. My problem is that at a later time when things are more difficult, instead of saying, I'll get back there through joy, and that would mean success. And if there's another emotion coming up, then there's sort of dualistic sense of failure.
Right. Okay, so what he's saying is that if you experience contact and joy in the same moment, and you correct us if we're wrong, if you experience contact and joy in the same moment, then when you're at a different moment and you're not experiencing contact, you're looking for that contact and joy as the evidence of the contact. And so there's a sense of failure, even though you may very well be in contact. And so the problem with equating contact and joy is that they are not related. There is no emotion that's particularly and certainly not uniquely associated with contact. Contact we were going to say well-being, but it's not, well-being implies a physical state. And you can be in a horrible physical state and be in contact. And so the well-being is a spiritual well-being, not necessarily a physical experience. And this is really, really a fundamental, critical thing. Thank you so much for bringing it up, that we like to talk about the ultimate as love, peace, joy, and gratitude. And this is the idealized form of what we would like human experience to be. And we all have moments of that. And we imagine that if all humanity were in contact, those moments would be much more frequent and much more available. But not having the experience of those feelings does not mean that we are in any way barred from contact. So then comes the question, can you be depressed and be in contact? And the answer is that they are two very different planes of existence. And yes, we can feel more than one thing at a time. We can experience more than one thing at a time. But what we're really talking about and it's important because we tend to reject ourselves when we don't feel love, peace, joy, and gratitude. We feel unspiritual. And so we further close down by judging ourselves as unspiritual, when the real point is contact. And contact is as close as a deep breath. So we may be depressed, then we breathe into contact. We are a dynamic system. Changing our breath changes our experience. What we're looking for in the deepest part of ourselves is that which does not change, which is contact. Now, we think of anything fixed as dead. So it's not fixed, it's dynamic. Our former teacher used to call it dynamic stillness. Somebody's microphone's on. Oh, okay. Okay. Please ask a question.
have a question in the chat. Did you want me to ask that or did you?
Go ahead. I
Okay.
just,
Do you think that allowing all of your feelings, good, bad, or indifferent, allows us to experience joy, gratitude, peace, and love on a deeper level? Do you think allowing all of your feelings?
Okay, so here's yes. The quick answer is yes. Allowing our feelings. Well, let's talk a little bit about disallowing our feelings. And we all do it. We all have certain feelings that we wish to deny at certain points in our lives. And we have several things to say about that. In the context of doing our work, there are moments when certain feelings are unwelcome. So we can say to those feelings, thank you for coming. I can deal with you at 4 o'clock this afternoon, but I'm busy now. I have to do this other thing. And then at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, we better deal with our feelings. So there's that relative level of dealing with feelings. Feelings are information. And if we suppress negative information, it will definitely bite us at some point in the future, because everything is energy, and suppressed energy will have its say. So there's that. Yes, feelings are welcome. Feelings are welcome, especially in contexts that we create for resolving the deep matrix of belief that contains a lot of negativity from our childhood and our growing, any traumas and dramas that we have experienced in ourselves, regardless of who, how, circumstances. These things need to be tended to, is the word we'll say, that words we'll use, with love. We contain all the love that we are waiting for to heal us. We have access to that because we are made of that. And for most of us, Rebecca included, it takes a very long time of nurturing, self-nurturing, discovering the capacity to nurture, welcoming the injuries to be healed internally. And you know, we are all very much wounded healers in our spiritual journey. However, we define our role as healer, which is not just, you know, not limited to any particular occupation or role. But for ourselves, we are wounded healers in ourselves, all of us. And so being available to that which arises in any dimension of our inner life, be it positive or negative, and that positive or negative we have assigned. And pain we generally regard as a negative. However, on the spiritual journey, we learn that pain is often the information that we need to go toward to be able to free ourselves from our limited matrix of belief. And so as we work deeper and deeper, the positive and negative charge that we put on experiences begins to shift, because everyone on this call has had the experience that a deeply painful experience has been the ticket to such enormous spiritual growth that it could not have been imagined on the front side. And there's also the awareness that when a being dies, those who are left in grief, the grief that they feel is like the glove of love turned inside out. You know, we hold another being in love. That being goes away and our love is turned inside out. It becomes grief. And then when we understand it from that context, as we feel deeper and deeper into that which is our life force, our union with Source, then we begin to see the love and the grief as two sides of the same coin. That without the love, we would not feel the grief. Without the grief, we would not have the validation of our love. And much of life is like this. So the positive and negative charge that we put on our experiences becomes a lot more flexible as we begin to understand that some of our deepest pain has been the source of our greatest revelation. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Thank you so much for the question.
Thank you for the answer.
How may we serve further? Yes. Anything? Mhm. So let's take a minute to bring ourselves back to that place below our belly button, into our power center, and use this moment as information about where we might have been before we brought our attention back to our center of power below our belly button. So what does this have to do with meditation? It has to do with self-awareness. And we could describe meditation as a process of ever deepening self-awareness. And we'll leave it at that. Ever deepening self-awareness. And the point is union with the highest. And we will say that union comes from grace. Grace is the complicated, uncomplicated. Grace is the relationship that we have that makes us aware of divinity in the first place. And as we allow that grace to inform us deeper and deeper, that is what guides us to the center. Grace is not an emotion. Grace is like gravity. It's like spiritual gravity that draws us toward our source. It is that thing that first pulls us toward the divine. That which is our source. It is very much alive within us, whether we can feel it in a given moment or not. It is not other. Others can inform us of it. Others can in varying degrees help us cultivate it by sharing their awareness. How may we serve? Hmm. So we're witnessing a rainy day outside, thinking about how green it's making everything.
Mm.
Watering the world. And feeling cozy in a warm, dry place. And then the gratitude for all of that. And it's about this moment. You know, we're always running from this moment. We're either anticipating the next moment or focused on the last moment. And to just take this moment and feel for its richness. Or we may still be resonating with, you know, the difficulty of some other experience. That's okay too. Just feel it, own it, be with it. Because in allowing the resonance of that which we are still processing, we are participating in creating an ever growing flow within ourselves of capacity to be in this moment, whatever that moment is. And to not judge ourselves as failures if that moment is about pain in the past or judgment we felt from somebody else. Any injury. All experience is just experience. It is our labeling ourselves as failure that creates the biggest obstacles to our own growth. Judging our state as something not spiritual. What we're trying to say here is that every experience we have in our lives is inherently spiritual. if the worst things that ever happened to us turn out to be the greatest gifts to our spiritual growth, then how can we judge ourselves as failures because it takes us a while to accommodate those experiences? That's not failure. That's taking time to accommodate experience. And residue of past trauma, that's not failure. That's residue of past trauma. We just be honest about all of it. And then we can allow ourselves to stop denying, avoiding, or creating more of same with our own reactions.
Right.
Yes.
I am sure you have addressed this in the past, but can you speak on the aspects of living with chronic health issues?
Well, we'll talk about this in terms of living with chronic pain, because in many ways, that's what chronic health issues are. Well, there's that which we can do, that which we can heal. And healing there are so many different levels of pain that people experience. So we'll talk about self-nurturing. This is where we're led in this moment. Self-nurturing. Self-nurturing involves allowing pain in all its various dimensions: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. And in that allowing, we are no longer fighting. And all of the hmm, we're going to tell you a dream Rebecca had last night, that she was in a particular situation where the choice was life or death. And in the dream, she said, whatever serves the highest best. And in that thought, whatever serves the highest best, was the conviction that she didn't know what the highest best was. And so what came back was this wave of, you know, because you are that. And that experience of that information is in the process of being processed. That's how we'll say it. But we just want to share that because that is a kind of answer. Because really, when we talk about chronic pain, we're talking about death and its approach. This is our greatest fear. And for many of us, that fear includes the time between now and then and the suffering that we fear we will endure. So we are inviting you into this processing. Because this is the truth of the moment. For Rebecca. And it's what comes up in answer to your question. And it's the willingness to sit in that state of not knowing. And there is that feeling of dynamic activity. No words. allowing. Allowing the uncertainty. So it feels we are all in a deep meditation. Let's just acknowledge that and spend some more time together in it. Mm. Thank you so much. It's been truly, truly wonderful to be with you today. Mm. So much love.